Good morning, good people. Welcome to Wedding 30. Bring you guys behind the scenes. Welcome to my day. We're at the Piazza of Messina. Clark's wedding today. Today is, what's the day? Today is the 20th of May. Welcome to my day, folks. So with this particular wedding, they had no wedding party. That means no bridesmaids, no groomsmen. It was just them, the parents, and their son. So I had to start this particular film differently because I didn't have bridesmaids makeup to put right in the beginning. So what I did is I decided to establish location. Like I said, and I always say, whether the client's paying me to use my drone or not, I'm always going to use my drone and I'm going to put up it to establish where we're at so you, as the viewer, can see where we're at as well. All right, so right after the ceremony, I'm going to go right into the groom. The groom is going to get his basic shots. But this particular groom, he got ready away from the venue, so I had to just get some shots outside of him basically putting on the blazer, him fixing his watch. Really simple and to the point. I did have a drone up during the ceremony since we're outside. It's important when you do have the drone up to count the rows so you can frame it in right so you don't get into the shot if you want to use that shot during filming purposes. Since we are outside, you're going to have to turn your shutter speed all the way up. I believe I'm anywhere between maybe 1,000 to 3,000 because remember the shutter speed is what let light into the camera, so we have to knock that up. I'm also shooting in log, so the minimum my ISO has to be at is 400, even though I can knock it down to 100. But with log, it has to be the minimum 400, so too much noise won't come into the shot. And that's pretty much it. I went back and forth between the drone and the camera I'm using, which is a R6 Mark II, and that's it. Then right after this, the sun did come out as well. Got some shot. I didn't want to overdo it with the drone on every single person since it's not even that many. I wanted to use the drone mainly for the groom and the bride purposes, but the sun was pretty entertaining. I did crop in so I can get a little bit closer with the sun when he did the dab. And that's pretty much it. All right, so the next thing is I love bringing people into the film. If they came to the wedding, I want to bring them in because it just adds depth to the shot. It brings more just to the film to just bring people in. They see you with the camera in their hand, so it's an easy layup for you. So I go from them to the subject. The subject at this point was, if I'm not mistaken, this was the groom's mother or someone related to him and as such. Then after her was the mother's, no, I'm sorry, the bride's either mother, grandmother was his side. And it was just pretty simple. I just bring people in the shot and go to them, and that's it. Now, the moment we have came from, came for the bride. So we're at makeup and hair. Everything is shot pretty much in 120. I'm gonna say 98% of it's shot in 120 frames. I like to have that super slow motion straight out of the camera. My reason being is because the makeup artist, the hairstylist, they always moving fast. Their hands, the brushes, combs, spray, things of that such. And then I also like movement. I like going from the makeup artist or the hairstylist to the subject. It just creates not a so boring you just watching someone getting their hair and makeup done, in my personal opinion. My ISO is probably up to about 10,000. It was pretty dim in there. And she had a light. I'm gonna take it back. Maybe about 5,000. Went cranked up to about 10,000. Shutter speed is double. The frame rate, which I'm shooting at 120, so 9 times out of 10, my shutter speed is right around 250. I'm shooting in log, and that's pretty much it as far as the makeup and hair goes. And then we go into the ceremony part. It's very interesting because I got the drone up, right? So I got to get that shot. I'm going to bring the people in the shot and bring the groom into the shot. It was even so dope. I was able to get the little white doves that was right behind the groom. I was able to get that in the shot. So it's very important to see everything you see while you're shooting, even when you're not shooting. And on that groom, that's the second camera. That's not my main camera in my hand. It's the second camera. That one's on a tripod. My camera is on a gimbal. So as she comes down, I want to get different angles. I want to get a wide shot, tight shot. I want to get the drone shot. I want to put all those things in together at this moment. So the ceremony is done. About to do some photos. Temperature was pretty good. I ran into one problem. My drone space stopped. I ran out of space on the drone right before the brow was about to come down. That's why I was always mindful, even when I work by myself, I always go check all my devices. I take the time to check them when I have a split moment. And I had to delete some video from like past work, but it worked out. I got the shot. Here's the shot right here. Love you up forever and time. Oh. All right, so now on to the ceremony. During ceremonies, I have a 2-camera setup. One is to the left, well, kind of behind the bride. I call it my groom camera. That camera is normally set 4K, 30 frames a second. I put it at 30 frames just in case if I want to slow it down a little bit if the groom starts crying or anything. My main camera is in my hand on a gimbal. When they are about to start the ceremony, most of the time I try to switch it, try is a key word, but I get it done. Try to switch it from 60 frames to 24 frames because when they're coming down for the ceremony, I'm normally shooting at 60 frames if I want to slow it down. But I know during the ceremony, I'm not going to slow anything down, so I'm going to switch it down to 24 frames. You may ask, why do I do this? Because of the size. Yes, I'm going to render everything in 24 frames. You might say it might not make a difference, but when you have over 500 gigabytes worth of wedding footage, you learn real quick to go ahead and downsize it to the 24 frames so you can save some space. Now, also when they're doing their photo shoots, I stage them sometimes, or I just go off of what the photographer's doing because I'm going to use that as B-roll during the ceremony. During the ceremony, I do not want you to just sit there and watch them for, let's say, 5 minutes and it's just the same camera angle. I want everything to change within 15 to 20 seconds because as you watch TV and film and movies, things always change within 15 to 20 seconds at the most to keep your attention on something else. Um, Also during the ceremony, that's pretty much it. There's nothing too over the top. I do move around a little bit during the ceremony so I can create different angles because I know I do have my safety camera on a tripod where I can move around. I know I have that camera always right there recording. So just in case if I want to move to the crowd or get a tight shot or a wide shot, I can always go back to that camera, and I also got my B-roll I can play around with as well. Now we're on to the first dance. The first dance, I'm recording this all in 60 frames. This is important because during the first dance, you may want to slow it down. You may not want to have it just running normal speed. Also, during the first dance, I'm going to create different angles, different focal lengths. I'm going to come wide, I'm going to come tight. I'm going to focus on maybe her hands with the ring. I'm just gonna create so many different angles and so many different shots of the first dance because I know I'm going to import the music that they're dancing to anyway, and then I'm gonna make my cuts and everything based on the sounds of the music and not really them dancing. So that's one of the key parts when you're filming a first dance is to create different angles, different shots, different focal lengths, move around a little bit, make it interesting. So they ended up doing a bouquet toss, and it actually surprised me. I wasn't even ready when she came out, and I shoot it freehand. I just happened to be freehand. What I mean by freehand is the camera isn't on a gimbal, and I shoot some things freehanded only so I can create different angles that I want to create freehandly that I can't do with the particular gimbal. So during this shot, I'm shooting everything in 60 frames still because I don't know if I'm going to slow it down. Actually, I take that back. I do know I'm going to slow it down because when she throws the bouquet, at that point, I'm going to slow it down just a little bit so you can see it goes into the actual person's hand that catches it. And that's pretty much it. The only
issue that I ain't gonna say I ran into, but I was mindful of is the place. I'm not gonna say it was dim, but as you see, the windows in the back create light, and the venue is kind of dim, so I can't crank up my ISO because during shooting on the actual windows will be blown out like crazy. And I don't want it to be too blown out, but I do have to use some ISO to lighten up the area where it is dim when I'm shooting back into the venue. So sometimes be mindful of that when you're shooting in these venues during the day, because this was kind of an early wedding. It was done by like 2 or 3 o'clock. It was like a brunch style wedding. So you have to be mindful of that when you're shooting, that you don't crank the ISO up too high, knowing you're going to point the camera towards the window and it's daylight and it's going to be blown out. Now, they didn't do a garter toss, which is fine. It's the couple's preference. It's their day, what they want to do, what they don't want to do. So we just jump right into let's just party. During the reception party dance time, I'm free-handed. I almost never use my gimbal unless it's a certain kind of shot I want on the gimbal, but 99% of the time I'm free-handed because one, the gimbal can be distracting. It's kind of big, and also I'm trying to like move in with the crowd. I'm trying to dance with them, trying to be discreet. I'm not trying to be the guy with the camera, even though they know I'm the guy with the camera. So I take it off the gimbal and I move everything freehanded. Plus, being freehand, I can tilt my camera to the left, to the right, up, down, however I please to create different shots while I'm freehanded. I can't do with the gimbal. Also, what I do during a reception, I import all the music that's originally from their day. So if that song was played during the reception, I'm going to put that song into their wedding film during the reception part. I do shoot all the reception in 60 frames. Depending on how I'm feeling, it may be in 4K, it may be in 1080p. I know you can't tell the difference because I know how to color grade my footage and I know how to shoot where you can't tell the difference between 4K and 1080p. If I knock it down to 1080p, it's only because I'm trying to save some space. If it's a long day and a lot of footage, and then plus with the Mark II R6 or just the R6, I shoot with both of them. It might run hot if you shoot them in 60K, I mean 60 frames for too long in 4K. But that's pretty much it, man. You know, I'm trying to create moments, I'm trying to create different shots, I'm trying to create an atmosphere that they can relive during their ceremony, not ceremony, I'm sorry, during the actual reception part. And that's it, man. You know, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or inbox me or find me somewhere if you have any questions about how to film weddings. And this is how I film mine. Stay tuned for the next one.